Hey, this is Tom, Junkie XL, and welcome again. Studio time with Junkie XL. In this episode, I want to focus again on Roland, but not what they did in the past, but something that they just came out with. And these are the boutique series. And I have to say, I'm really enthusiastic about these boxes. It's so much fun to play with them. It's very dangerous to take them to bed with a headset on because you will be noodling around for hours and you wake up the next day with your headset still on with some sounds going into your ears. But let me tell you what they made. So let's start with the three new ones that they just came out with. Here we have the TB03 bassline, which obviously is modeled on the classic TB303, which I don't own actually. So this is a really great box. We'll get to that in a minute. The second one that came out with is the TR09, which is a drum computer modeled on the famous TR909. That one actually I do have. So that is a separate episode. We're going to talk about that. Then we have another synth over here, which is the JX03. Now this one is modeled based on the JX3P, which I showed in another episode, the rack mount synthesizer with the controller to program the sound. And then over here we have the GP08, which is modeled off the famous Jupiter 8, and I've showed that synthesizer in another episode. And then here we have the Jupiter 6, the JU6. Now this one is modeled off the Juno 106, which I've also shown to you in a different episode. And then we end with the vocoder VP03, and this one is modeled of the VP330 that I've shown in the other Roland episode. And these boxes, the great thing about these boxes is that you can connect them really easily, so you can mix one into another. Very easily you can make music yourself with just a couple of boxes, which I will show later on too. But they're also very affordable, and this is a perfect occasion to pick one of these up and extend your sound palette that you might have with Logic, Cubase, or Ableton Live, to add like some extra flavors to your sound, but also to get that hands-on experience by turning knobs. Now, the way that they laid these out is that primarily you program the whole synthesizer or drum computer with the knobs right on there, which gives it a lot of flexibility, and you're able to store these all in presets and recall them at any time when you need them. So let's start with the JP08. Let me just play some sounds and I can show you what you can quickly change like on the spot. Now the cool thing with this thing is that they took a couple of things from the original Jupiter 8. What was really cool is that it had a lower voice and an upper voice, and you can combine them together. So like the Jupiter 8, you can combine two sounds on top of each other and create an even thicker sound. Let's just go through some of these presets so you have an idea what they sound like. So as you can see, I'm just skipping through the presets that while you pick a sound, you can immediately alter it and change it, and then obviously store it again if you're really happy with it. I think it's a very amazing synth, and I'm not saying it's exactly the same as the Jupiter 8, because the Jupiter 8 is its own thing, but this is a very beautiful synth, and I find it very handy to have it to create extra sounds on stuff that I work on. Okay, let's move over to the next synth over here. Let me see if I get the output right. And here we go. Let's see, and we have sound. So this is the J06, the JU6, which, like I said, is modeled after the Juno 106. Also here, very simple knobs and sliders to create your sound. So let's just see what we have here and alter a couple of things. Like the real Juno 106, it has the chorus on or off setting. Very successful build. Let me just play a couple of presets from this box so you have an idea what the presets are. I really love this box. As you can tell, well, as I'm going through these sounds, it's like these sounds immediately remind you of the simplicity of these synthesizers in what they offer in their sound. And that's what I find so beautiful about these things. Obviously, when you take them into the digital world with plugins, or you throw it in Reactor, or you put some really guitar rig plugins on top of it, or FabFilter plugins, obviously you can take it into a whole different world where most crazy things can happen with these sounds. Let's move over to this box over here. Now this is the model of the vocoder, the classic Roland vocoder, the VP330. And let's just dive right into it. Wonderful. Also, like the real vocoder, it gives you the option to add things like strings to it. Here we go. Or the human voice. Or all three together with the vocoder. Very beautiful box. It also has a little sequencer in it, so you could... You can sequence a couple of things. Very nice box, very beautifully built. Now we go to this box over here. This box is the JX3. And the JX3, as I said before, is modeled after the JX3P, of which I have the rack mount version with the controller, with all the knobs on it. Luckily, this box comes with the knobs on it, so you don't need an external controller. Let me just play like a little bit through it and then alter the sound a little bit so you see what you can get out of it. Really great. Now I want to just go through a couple of the presets so you have an idea what this thing is capable of. Another great box, again with a very dry, direct sound, and you can do with it whatever you want. If you want to stay true to what the sounds were in the 80s, you could add a lot of reverb to it or a lot of chorus, or just keep it super dry so it becomes more late 70s, early 80s. I just want to move on to this box right here. So I actually now looking at the TB03, the TR09 and the vocoder again, which I just demonstrated. But I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the TR09, which is modeled obviously off the famous TR909. I will cover that one in a separate episode. But the TR909 was the classic drum computer together with the 808 that was so important for the development of electronic dance music in the late 80s going into the 90s. And they, they released this again in a newer version, and I have to say it sounds absolutely fantastic. I beat it with the TR909 that I have, and I have to honestly say that the new 09 sounds a little nicer. It's a little punchier, a little brighter, and I always felt with the original 909 that I had to sample it and then process it and do something with it. Whereas this one sounds really good and snappy. The way that it's laid out is that you have your drum instruments right here, and then per drum instrument you could determine what you want to do with it. So let me play the bass drum. You can tune it, give it less attack, make it shorter, make it longer. So you can do that for every instrument. The snare drum. The toms. So really cool. And then you can program your own rhythms, and you could alternate between those rhythms. So let me just quickly play you one. And I'm just going to build it up a little bit. I'm going to put my glasses on because my eyesight is really going backwards the last couple of years. So let's just like turn a couple of things off, and then I'm start dialing some stuff in and see what we get. Now, this really brings me back to the old days when dance music started, and I envisioned myself a career in dance music, and these were the little tools that we had to play with on the original machines. So let's now move over to the TB03, which I never owned in its original version. By the time I got interested in the 303, the prices were so ridiculously expensive. We're talking about $3,000–4,000 for a good working 303 with the Devilfish mod on it, and it was simply too much money. So I used cheaper synths that I will get to in other episodes to emulate the sound of the 303. Nevertheless, it's a very, very, very classic synth. So basically, you program your own pattern with notes on this thing. And it has a simple envelope, a simple decay. It has an accent for certain notes that need to be louder. It has a built-in overdrive, and this one has a built-in delay that you can use too. And you have the cutoff frequency and the resonance, the two most important parts of this instrument. Just let me just play a pattern of this thing, and I'll play a little bit with it, and so you get an idea what the sound is. Really fantastic. Again, it just brings me back to the good old days where people like Josh Wink and the Chemical Brothers were releasing these amazing records with basically just a 303 and a drum computer. Now, this is where it gets really cool. In this case, I'm just doing it very simple with a MIDI cable. But Roland offers that really sexy way of hooking all these things up with a separate connector. They're all connected, and then you can really take it to town, actually. So I just want to show you like how fun it is just to combine these two boxes together and just play with them. And I remember when this came out, the demo that was made was so incredible, and I think it was one of the really classic techno guys, Dave Clark maybe, who actually was responsible for some of these patterns and things. But I just want to give you an idea like how much fun it is to play with this. Anyway, I can play for hours, and I haven't done this in such a long time. So, I'm honestly, it needs you need really, a good amount of practicing to get really good at it. And some of these techno guys and kids, just phenomenal what they do with just a few machines, one or two synths, and then playing records at the same time. It's an art form on its own, and I can only fake it a little bit. I used to play live in a completely different way, but that is something for another episode. So this episode was all about the beautiful boutique boxes that Roland has released recently that I'm very enthusiastic about. And I hope you like this episode, and I'll see you soon in another one.